double Star Wars tonight. I'm not going to waste any time. I got a lot of questions. You all have a lot of questions. Don't forget there's mics on the side, so if you want to start lining up at the beginning of the panel, we're going to get through as many as we possibly can. I'm going to request that no one gives gifts, asks for videos, or anything along those lines, just so we can include as many people in the conversation as possible. Now, without further ado, I'm introducing my guest for the I Am No Jedi panel, Ashley Eckstein. What did making it look like? Was it excelling in a certain genre or anything like that? And how does it compare to this really unique path you carved for yourself?
Well, wow, that's a big question, but I'm so glad you asked it because it started right here in Orlando, Florida. My mom's here, over there, Mama Tano. Papa Tano had to work today. He's almost retired, not quite. But it started right here. I grew up in Orlando, Florida, literally right down the street. So for those that are familiar, I went to Dr. Phillips Elementary School, Dr. Phillips High School, yes, DP Panthers, all right. But you know, yes, DP, I love it. But I'm so grateful to have grown up here because with all the theme parks, with Disney, my dad was a Disney cast member. How many Disney cast members do we have? All right. So my dad was a Disney cast member, and you could definitely say that I grew up Disney. And that's where I first fell in love with acting. I got to go to a live taping of the Mickey Mouse Club, which does date me a little bit. But I was 8 years old, and that's when I first made the connection that these kids that were on a TV show that I love so much, that it wasn't just like in my television, it was real. Like I was there watching them act right in front of my eyes. And that's when I realized if they could do it, then I could do it too. And then fortunately, SeaWorld and Universal, and when you grow up here, there's lots of opportunities. So I got my first acting job on screen for SeaWorld. I did a TV show called Shame TV. And how many people work for SeaWorld or Universal? Raise your hands. All right, okay. And I just want to thank you all. Not just Disney, but also SeaWorld, Universal, or anyone here. You make magic to people, so thank you for the magic that you make. But anyway, so having these opportunities right here where I grew up made my dream tangible, where I could actually do it and touch it and feel it and say, you know what, I can do that too. And so it was my dream to be on the Disney Channel. I didn't want to win an Oscar, I just wanted to be on the Disney Channel. And so I eventually graduated from high school and I moved to LA, where I was able to make my dream come true and I played Muffy on That's So Raven. Has anyone seen That's So Raven? Alana said that she likes MEGACON. So that was it for me. It's like I made my dream come true, I was good, and little did I know that Star Wars was right around the corner.
To build on that a little, lots of positivity. I always like focusing on some bumps in the road and how you overcome them, because you never know who out there might benefit from hearing how someone they admire overcame them. So one thing I had heard you say was when you switched to voice acting, you did something like 400 auditions and never booked a role. When you're going through something like that, what is the key to staying positive, forging forward, and also never confidence in your craft?
Again, great question, because I'm all about, sharing your stories and especially your failures. We don't talk about failure enough, and really my most valuable lessons come from moments of failure. And so growing up here in Orlando, I actually started in theater and then moved on to film and television. I didn't have any experience in voice acting. And when someone comes up to me and asks, how do they become a voice actor? I say, well, it starts by becoming an actor, because voice acting is acting, and it's a different technique, but it's the same craft. It's the same kind of job at the end of the day. And so when I moved to LA, which is so crazy, because if you come down and see where I'm signing autographs, my neighbor is Jody Benson. I mean, come on. And Jody was the reason that I wanted to become a voice actress. So I got to go to I was part of a test audience when I was in first grade for The Little Mermaid. It wasn't even out yet. And some of the scenes were still in storyboard form. And they asked cast members if they had any kids, because they wanted to show the movie to kids and see how they reacted. And so, again, that's where it made it tangible for me. My parents did a good job explaining, like, no, this is what we were doing, and that there's actors that are doing the voices. And that's when it clicked for me. So, fast forward to when I eventually lived in LA, I did have an agent for film and television, and I begged them. I said, look, I don't have any experience in voiceover, but I just want to do it so bad. Would you send me out on voiceover auditions too? And thankfully they agreed, because I had a really young-sounding voice, but it did not come easy. It's so funny, a lot of people today, they're like, oh, well, she's just a voice actress. Little do they know, the majority of my work is actually on camera as a live-action actress, and that came a lot easier. And so while I was booking on camera work, I kept going to voice acting auditions and not booking it. And it took about 4 years, which was equal to about 400 auditions. And I even, in 2 different shows, I booked the role, like the lead role, and then I recorded 1 or 2 episodes, and then they recast me, which happens all the time, unfortunately, and it's devastating. Because here you are, you think you got the lead role of the show, and then they're like, not so much, we changed our mind. And so then they recast you. And so it had been a long road, and I'm going to share this story real quick. I know this is a long answer, but I share this because you never know what can happen. And so when I got the audition for Ahsoka, I found out the night before the audition. And that happens a lot. You don't have much time to prep. And when it rains, it pours. Sometimes you'll go with no auditions, and then some days you'll have like 5 auditions in one day. Well, that's what happened to me. I literally had 5 auditions in one day. And the audition for Star Wars was the last audition of the day. And so my agent, he said, hey, you're going to be auditioning for the new Star Wars show, but you're auditioning for Padme. And I was super bummed. Not because Padme is not an awesome character, because she is. I was bummed because I sounded nothing like Natalie Portman. And they needed a voice match for Natalie Portman. So I practiced all night. Woke up the next morning and kind of forgot about it because I had 4 other auditions. And I drove all over LA. It took all day to do all of the auditions. I had no time to eat. So by the time I got to the Star Wars audition, I hadn't eaten, and I was hangry, like really hangry. And I walked in, and in the audition room was like 100 other actresses. And they were all the top actresses in LA. All the actresses that had beat me out 4 years prior to all the roles. And I did something I would normally never do. I walked out. And I went back to my car. I literally put the key in the ignition, and I called my agent, and I just said, hey, look, they're running an hour behind. All the top actresses in LA are in there. I still can't do Natalie Portman's voice. I'm just gonna leave. I literally was about to leave the audition, and my agent begged me. He's like, Ashley, please, whatever you do, go back in there, because you never know what can happen. And so I did. I'm normally a positive person, but that day, again, I was hangry. And I waited an hour, I go in, I say the first line is Padme, and Dave Filoni stops me. And he's like, no, you sound too young to be Padme. That's my bad Dave impression. But he's like, but there's this new character, she's a 14-year-old girl, and we think you might be right for her. And so, you know, therein kind of was my audition for Ahsoka, but she was so top secret, they weren't even advertising about this new character. But had I left, my life would be completely different. So I share that because you never know what could happen. Even if you doubt it, just go for it, because that moment changed my life.
I want to flip around with that question. I know you do learn from failures and you grow from them, but I also think this is a business where we don't tell ourselves good job and celebrate our accomplishments nearly enough. So of all the scenes you did as Ahsoka or anything else you've done in film and television or even fashion, what thing that can you look back on and say to yourself like, wow, like I am so proud I did that?
You're so full of great questions. I'm so glad because you're so right. And this is something I talk about a lot, and I constantly have to remind myself of this. Oftentimes we set these huge goals for ourselves that are absolutely attainable, but they're several steps away, sometimes miles away. And in order to get to that end goal, we have to take several small steps. And oftentimes when we feel like we're not close enough to our end goal, we're so hard on ourselves. I know I am. I mean, everyone understands, right? We're all hard on ourselves. But we have to break down the larger goals into small steps. And so, you know, I say identify your end goal, but then every day break it down into small steps and make an attainable goal for that day or that week. And say, you know what? This is what I'm going to focus on, just this, right here. And then when you achieve that goal, celebrate it. Like take a moment to pat yourself on the back and say, you know what, I did that. And then before you know it, after you achieve all these small goals, you're going to be that much closer to your end goal and your big goal. And I'm a huge advocate for mental health. And I think that's really important for our mental health. You know, just, you have to stop. You have to be kind to yourself. I mean, I'll be the first to say, the other day, I made a mistake on something. And I was so mad at myself. And I literally, I said this over and over again. I'm like, Ashley, you're so stupid. You're just so stupid. And I was literally that angry at myself. And my husband stopped me and he's like, Ashley, stop. Don't talk to yourself that way. And when he said that, it made me realize, I'm like, wow, I would never talk to somebody else that way. I would never say that to somebody else. Why then do I think it's okay to talk to myself that way? So think about that. It's like, think about how you talk to others and what you would want to say to others, and treat yourself that way. And it's important to applaud yourself and take a moment to celebrate those small wins.
So again, back to the beginning with Ahsoka, one other thing I've heard you say in the past is that you were cast in the role not just because of your voice acting, but because of your personality too. And it's made me wonder, what did Ahsoka look like when you were first presented the role in your very first audition compared to who she turned out to be as you got to explore her more and actually bring her life?
Yeah, well, first of all, so Ahsoka was already drawn. She was designed. So they didn't make Ahsoka look like me, except what a lot of people might not realize is that, especially in the beginning, they filmed our faces as we were saying the lines. So several of Ahsoka's expressions actually are my expressions, which is so crazy because my husband and I will watch it, or you know, my parents, and he'll say like, "Oh, I've seen that look before." So it is kind of creepy to see like an expression I do on the character. But I was actually cast, because they didn't know know what they wanted for Ahsoka. So I think a lot of people have heard me say this, but Dave, I don't, you'll have to ask him, if you ever get the chance to talk to him, why he wanted Ahsoka to sound like New York. But, you know, that originally Ahsoka was supposed to have an Icelandic accent, and specifically Dave wanted her to sound like New York. And I just, like, I couldn't do it. I butchered it pretty much. But he watched me in between takes, and fortunately, my own personality is kind of what he wanted for Ahsoka. So when I was cast, they said, don't do Icelandic. It's pretty bad. But just use your own voice. You know, use your own voice, use your own personality, bring your own humor and wit, because they wanted Ahsoka to be snippy but not bratty. And so I had a lot of say, not with the writing, but with how I would say the lines. And especially with her personality. Dave he would always just tell me, like, well, actually just say it the way you would say it. So Ahsoka very much is my own kind of heart and soul, and we're kind of just one at this point. I mean, she very much is me, but also I have kind of changed my life to be more like Ahsoka. And that's why I so badly just strive every day to be a real life version of Ahsoka Tano, and she's really changed my life.
Oh, I have a follow-up to that I will save for later. First, I'm going to go to the audience. Let's start with this mic over here. Hello, and what's your question?
Hi, my name is Zane, and my question was, what did you, because I know you went to the same middle school as me.
Yes, Southwest Middle School?
Yeah,
Whoa, that's awesome!
and because I'm going into 7th grade, I was going to ask, what electives do you think I should take?
That is a great question. And I just love that we went to the same middle school. Well, I will say that you have the most amazing drama department and the most amazing drama teacher. So Miss Marjima is the drama teacher at Southwest Middle School, and she's just incredible. And so whether you want to be an actress or not, there's so many amazing life skills that you can learn from drama. And so I highly recommend that you take drama, and also television production. There's an amazing television production. I came to your school last year, and also this year, and I got to be on your morning news. And I got to see everyone, E2E2. But I just want to send Nat all the birthday love on Saturday. So if you all can just send Nat birthday messages or videos, we're really gonna, make sure Matt feels the love on Saturday, because we are family. I mean, he is my sky guy. James Arnold Taylor is exactly like Obi-Wan. I mean, so we all are a lot like our characters. We're very close.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm so happy. All right, who do we have over here? What's your question?
Even though I know they just was a different cast of the person, if you ever had the chance, would you want to play a live action Ahsoka?
Oh gosh, I mean, this is something I've actually been very outspoken about for many years. I mean, this goes back really to the beginning, over 10 years ago. I mean, it's been actually 15 years since Clone Wars came out. But yes, I mean, it would be just a dream come true to get to play Ahsoka in live action. So, of course I would love to do that. It's always been one of my dreams. And I think one of the funniest things I've read online, because I read the comments, is when people say, oh, maybe they offered her the role and she turned it down. I can tell you I would never turn it down. But that being said, they offered Rosario the part. I didn't even have the chance to audition. But I fully support Rosario, and I have from the very beginning. I think, we're all one big team, Tano. I think she's doing an amazing job as Ahsoka, and I'm super bummed I'm not going to be here this weekend with her. So it'd be really cool, with us here together. We'll be together at Star Wars Celebration. But yeah, I think she's doing an amazing job, but that doesn't mean that I can't still hope to play her in live action one day too, or continue to be her in animation. Ahsoka is truly a piece of my heart and soul, and whether I get to play her more, or whether I just get to be a real-life daily version of Ahsoka, she'll forever be a part of me. So thank you for asking the question.
Also, because I heard you say that you wouldn't mind having the opportunity to cameo in that show. And I'm in the business of manifesting, so something out in the world. If you got the opportunity to cameo and create the Star Wars character of your choice, whether you're Force sensitive, no matter where in the galaxy you're from, what would you pick and why?
Oh my goodness. Well, first of all, I'm very honest when I'm not under an NDA. But I can honestly tell you, I had an amazing opportunity to visit the set of Ahsoka. That's where I got to meet Rosario for the first time. But it was just a set visit, so I did not do a cameo in season 1. I would have loved to, but I'm going to manifest it. So if, and I have no idea if there's going to be a season 2, by the way. I saw an article online, they're like, Ashley Eckstein spoils it. She says season 2. I have no idea if there's going to be a season 2. I was just saying, if there is a season 2 of Ahsoka, I would absolutely love to do a cameo. It would be a dream come true. You know, I'd just be happy to do anything. I have no idea if the daughter from Mortis is in it, but it'd be really cool to maybe do the daughter for Mortis, because I think there's some connection with Ahsoka. But I'd be happy with anything. I mean, some people, speaking of fan casts, a lot of fans have said, you know, maybe I could play Avar Kriss from the High Republic. That would be really cool if I got to do that. But really, I would just be grateful for anything. It would be awesome to have a cameo in some way. So I'm up for it. If y'all want to ask for it and help us manifest it, that'd be great.
Yeah, I like that. All right, we're going to jump back to this side here.
Hi, my name is Sam, and my question is, you talk a lot about the humor and the bond you have with your fellow Ahsoka Tano cast members, and so I'm just wondering if you have any favorite funny stories from either behind the scenes or outtakes or things like that you just were like really funny on the day or unexpected.
There's too many. And the thing that kind of breaks my heart is that we never filmed like a lot of footage from the studio, because the moments in between the tape, like in between takes where we're just being ourselves, goofing around, are like some of the best moments. So a funny one, and I've told this before, not a lot though, and I'm totally outing myself right now, and I didn't figure it out until like season 7, so it was many years of not knowing why this was happening. But I found out that if I drink like too much caffeine, so like coffee or soda, prior to a record session, it causes like air bubbles in my throat. And it's not a burp, it's like literally like an air bubble that I can't control. It just like happens. And it makes this really weird like creature sound. And so I would be like ready to say a line, and then you'd hear this croak like come out of my throat. It's so embarrassing, like beyond embarrassing. And then of course everyone would laugh. Well, what I didn't realize was that one day our sound engineer, Cameron, was recording, and he recorded said croak of my throat, and Dave called it a flurg, like a half frog, half slug, and he said that, I don't think he ever did, but he said that he was gonna use my throat sound to be a creature in Star Wars.